Coming to you live from alternate timeline 13th century Mongolia. This is Optimal Play. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Jordan.
And can you believe I had to use that same intro again? Another game about alternate history.
Yeah, it's
Mongolia.
Mongolia is really the subject of so many board games these days.
I know.
It's a shame.
I'm really sick of it.
It's overplayed.
I'm here to teach you another one.
Here we go.
Called Worldbreakers.
All right, I'm excited to try it.
Advent of the Khanate?
Khanate? I just imagine Khan is the first part.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Khanate, yeah.
Khanate,
Yeah, we were, right before we hit record, we were musing about what that means, and we didn't
is that a place?
We didn't solve it.
Right, we didn't.
But this is a really cool head-to-head card game, set in this ancient-ish history where this substance mythium has been discovered, and the different guilds and leaders are all competing to use it to kind of shape their power and the prosperity of their people and dominate the region, essentially. So you can see I'm a huge expert on both this game and history in general.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Marco Polo?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
So I am here to teach Jordan how to play Worldbreakers. We call these a casual learned play because I needed to teach you anyway. So
right.
Turn the cameras on. It's not scripted. It's not going to have a lot of fancy B-roll, but I think you might find it useful if you're looking to play Worldbreakers.
Yeah, let me just check my script. Yes, this will be useful.
So yeah, thank you for joining us. If you find it, where am I going with this? Just like the channel, or like the video, subscribe to the channel.
Yeah,
this is going great. I'm off to a good start, explaining things clearly, aren't I?
Yes. There'll be no problems going forward.
Well, let's get down into it then. We have set up for a game of Worldbreakers by laying out the tokens and this round start sheet here in the middle. Normally I think you would play this game head to head, but we were already set up to play side by side, and I think that sometimes that plays better on camera. So we're playing side by side, but you would often sit head to head. We have chosen a Worldbreaker and started with one standing, which we'll talk more about, but you can go ahead and take your Worldbreaker card and overlap this standing so that there's one symbol showing. And then shuffle your deck, which I am going to do very poorly right now, and draw 5 cards from it as your opening hand. And then you may do a selective mulligan, where you can choose any number of them, discard them, replace them, and then shuffle those into your deck. Will be how you start.
These all have 4 standings, so I assume I should get rid of all of them.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable.
All right.
So, how you win Worldbreakers is straightforward. You need to get to 10 power. You'll be accumulating power in a small handful of different ways over the course of the game, and then specifically, victory is checked in the rally phase, which we'll talk more about, but it's a very specific phase of the game where we check for victory no other time. So it does not end immediately if someone gets 10 power. Mm-hmm. When we do check it, if someone has at least 10 power and more than their opponent, they win. If there's a tie, no one wins and you play another round, and then check again when you get to that phase again, and so on, until somebody has more than 10 and more than their opponent when we check for victory. So that is how you win. What we are going to do is have an action phase and then a rally phase each round. The action phase uses this section of our divider here, where we're going to go back and forth taking actions 4 times. So in this case, you're going first because the 1 is on your side here. And you'll take 1 action, then I will, back and forth, and then after 4 each, then we go to the rally phase, which is where we ready exhausted cards, draw some more cards, do kind of the things that you do in a card game to reset between rounds, generally. The other part of starting the game, actually, that I probably should have said, is that we start with some Mythium. 5.
3, right? Oh, no, 5, you're right.
It is 5, yeah. Start with 5 Mythium. Those are these little blue crystal tokens. The other tokens here are wounds stationary tokens. Are these double-sided? They are. Oh, stationary and +1/+1 tokens. And these ones are the power that you're trying to get 10 of. And they have, I think, 3 power on the other side. So, over the course of the game, you'll be playing locations and followers, and also some action cards to attempt to get to 10 power. Your followers will be a row of creatures. You may have played other games where you have rows of creatures that attack each other. This will also have that, and that's one of the primary ways to get power. We'll get to combat with them last, but let's look at the actions we can take. So as your action, you can gain 1 Mythium. Just take it from the supply. Pretty straightforward. Probably put it on the 1 side, not the 3. You can also draw 1 card. This may surprise you, but that means take a card from your deck.
Thank you. Yeah.
Put it in your hand. Any questions about drawing cards?
I got it.
All right.
We're good. So I'll spend 2 Mythium as this next action and gain a status with my guild.
Standing, yes.
Standing.
Yeah, so this is the first kind of, I guess, real thing to learn some details about. Spending 2 Mythium to gain a standing with any guild. Standing is tracked with these cards poking out from your Worldbreaker. You could also track them with dice or something. So gaining a standing means you would spend the 2 and reveal another one of these icons. This game has 4 guilds, and there's a standing to go with each guild. So you can gain standing with any guild, and for probably when you set up this game, you would use these standing cards for any that you expected to want standing with.
Right.
But you start with one in the guild that your Worldbreaker character belongs to, so Stars Guild in this case, and then most likely you would just choose one of the guilds that you've put cards in your deck.
Right.
For.
And so these starting decks only have 1 guild each?
They do. Yes, and so we've set up here with just 1 standing here, because while you are welcome to gain an Earth standing with your 2 Mythium if you want, probably doesn't serve a lot of purpose in your mono guild deck.
Sure.
The next thing you can do is play a card, and this is where standing matters. The primary way that standing matters is that these cards that may be in your hand, and let me zoom in on some of them here. They have 2 facets to playing them. They have their Mythium cost, which is in this crystal here. You have to discard that many Mythium tokens in order to play that card. And then they have a standing requirement, which is these pips below it here. And so in order to play that card, you have to be able to pay its cost, but you also have to have at least as much standing as the card lists here. So in this case, I have 2 standing. I could not play the Blind Sculptor because it requires 3 stars standing, but any of these other cards I'm now ready to play if I can pay their costs. And then this is where we can look at the types of cards also. There are events. These are your spells, your actions. Every card game has these. They do what they say on them and they go to your discard pile.
Right.
So this one costs 2. Has an extra ability if you can reveal locations from your hand, but it costs 2 and gains 3 Mythium, so this is kind of an econ card. Then there are followers. Followers go into play in front of you. You'll start a row of them. There's no limit to how many you can have, and their positioning does not matter. So you'll pay their cost, put them into play. Kind of the other features on these are they have a power and a health value, and that will matter in combat, and they will... We'll get to combat in a moment. The last type, and I will have to find one here. Last type of card is locations. They're printed sideways, but they do still, while they're in your hand, they'll still have their cost in what is probably the upper left corner. You play them sideways, pay their cost. You immediately populate their list of actions here with these develop tokens. They are just all X's. I gotta be honest.
You could put that on after you did that effect.
You would think.
Because they're an X.
Yeah. Also, I played this on Tabletop Simulator during its original campaign. I really thought that was probably a placeholder for there would be a different graphic design to these before the game came out, but no, we stuck with the X's.
Interesting.
So those locations get populated with the X's, which will be removed to do those effects when you develop a location, which is the next type of action you can take. So if you have at least one location in play with develop tokens still on it, you can take the develop a location action to simply remove a token from the top row of this card with a token there and do that thing. In this case, the Submerged Brilliant says draw 2 cards and gain 2 Mythium. So I would do that.
I guess that actually makes sense because now we know this is at stage 1 or something. Maybe some cards care about your location's at stage 1.
Yeah, I
Alright.
don't know. I know I'm an expert in this game, but
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
I don't know if the mechanics of this game end up kind of explaining why they went with that route versus having one token that you move down the track or put them on. Yeah, not sure, but yeah, you do populate it and then remove them. So develop a location is you spend your whole action removing that and doing one of the things on that location. I'll point out, this is one of the two primary ways to gain power. A lot of locations, as you develop them, say gain power. This one, its second development is gain 1 power and 1 standing within a guild, and its third one is gain 1 power. So you can get a total of 2 from this card alone.
Nice.
It's 20% of winning the game. It's pretty good.
The submerged brilliance.
Yes. Yeah, it's very pretty difficult to make sense of art, but I guess that's true of the title too.
Yep. Okay. Maybe it's meant to be underwater, submerged.
Yeah, I guess probably so. This says the ocean life seems undisturbed by the glowing crystals all around. Oh, so it's like an oceanscape with mythium crystals growing in it.
Cool.
I guess.
Underwater mine.
Anyway,
Right.
it can get you some cards in mythium and power.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really straightforward location. The last action that you can take is to attack. You might want to attack in order to, primarily you'd be looking to gain power, but I see you're ahead of me in setting up a couple cards for an example, so that's perfect. Okay, so if you use your action to attack, you're then going to exhaust and declare as attackers any number of your followers. So they need to have been ready in order to attack because you exhaust them. What you generally do is you exhaust them and like push them up. Again, a lot of the time you're sitting across from your opponent, so you're kind of pushing it towards your opponent. But to indicate which ones are attacking, so I'll attack with everything.
Why not?
You can attack with any number of your followers in an attack action, and there are reasons you might want to. It might seem most efficient to attack with them all at once, but there might be times that you would rather take 3 different actions to attack with one each time.
Right.
In this case, I'm attacking with each of them. And then there are they listed here? They are not. I don't have a reference on the table. But, so I don't know off the top of my head the proper names of the 3 parts of combat, but they are essentially...
attack, defense, and outcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you were looking at the rulebook.
Just looking at the rulebook. Yeah.
Actually, I thought it was offense, defense, and outcome. No?
That could easily be true.
Yeah, anyway.
Is it not on the back of this?
No, there's the fighting part, the stopping fighting part, and then the outcome. I don't have a better word. Yeah. So
you declared your attackers.
I declared my
That's
attackers.
The offense.
Yes,
part.
that is the offense part.
And if you had some keywords that said attacks or attacking, you would trigger them. Or something.
Exactly, yes, which I do not. Then you, one by one, can declare your followers as defenders by exhausting them and telling me which one they're defending.
Right.
2 things will happen when you do that, and they happen immediately. It's not like Magic the Gathering where you assign all your blocks and then resolve them. You resolve each one by one, and then decide what your next move will be.
Okay.
So when you exhaust one to defend, like why don't you make a block just for demonstration purposes?
Trying to make a good choice here.
Sure.
It's difficult. I think I'm actually going to, just for the example of this blocks keyword, I'm going to use the Steelclad Captain, and I'm going to block your Blind Sculptor.
Okay, so go ahead and exhaust that.
And I have a blocks keyword here.
Ooh, okay, so we'll look at that in a second.
Okay,
yeah.
Two.
So I mean, I guess it depends on what it says, but the basics here are 2 things are going to happen. They are going to deal their power to each other in wounds. So the Blind Sculptor here is a 4/4, so we'll deal, and I think there's 3s on here. Yeah, 4 wounds to your captain. It has 5 health, so it does not die, that's a lot of health to survive 4 wounds. Even if it had died, it would do its power back. It's simultaneous, so it's going to deal 3 to the Blind Sculptor, which has 4 health, so it also does not die. So that's great. Lots of bloodshed, but no death yet. And the other thing that happens is that my attacker is then removed from combat, and I pull it back down.
And that would
to
happen to my
next round.
blocker too, right?
Yeah, like your blockers are never considered really to be quote unquote in combat. Followers are either in combat, attackers are either in combat or not. So it matters for cards that talk about in combat followers whether when those effects apply, which ones have been already removed from combat and which have not. But yeah. And then you mentioned you had a block keyword. Why don't we look at that? Because that would trigger here.
It says if you have at least 4 standing in the Moon Guild, which I do.
Oh, wow! Look at that.
Would you look at that? Ready Steelclad Captain. It can't block again this combat.
Oh, okay. So that would ready can't block, but could attack if you have actions left in this round to do so.
Right, and would you look at that?
Wow.
I do. Actually, This is your attack, so...
That's true.
Okay.
Oh boy, all right. I'm scared.
Yeah, okay.
And then
do you want to keep doing...
Yeah. So we can keep going. Why don't you make one more block?
Okay, this one says if you have less than 4, it doesn't matter. So I'll block... I'll block your Moth Keeper with my Alert Warden.
Okay. So your Alert Warden does 4 damage to the Moth Keeper, who I'm now realizing has this keyword stationary, which says this cannot attack. So this was a terrible example. We're just ignoring that for now. I'm just calling that out. That before you comment in the YouTube comments. But so anyway, somehow it's attacking and it regrets it because it dies horribly to the 4 damage from your Alert Warden.
Excellent.
And it deals 1 damage back as 1 wound on there. So this would go in my discard pile, and I guess I think it's removed from combat and then goes in my discard pile. I'm not sure that matters.
So I'm going to not block this lowly bard.
That is perfect for demonstration purposes.
It is, all right.
So thoughtful of you.
Okay.
Yeah, so after you are done with your blocks, then anything that I have that is still attacking that has not been blocked is considered to have breached your defenses. Mm-hmm. And 3 things happen when we breach, when on an attack you successfully breach. I guess this is actually not one of the 3 things, but your attack is considered to be successful. So if cards care about, like, whenever you make a successful attack, it's successful if at least 1 follower breaches the defenses. Then for each follower who got through, you gain 1 power. So in this case, I'll gain 1, but if it had been multiple followers, it could have been more than 1. Next is if any of them have the breach keyword, breach : something happens, those abilities would trigger. I don't have any examples of that here. And then lastly, I can damage one of your locations by taking the topmost development token on it and removing it, but you do not resolve that effect. So you've permanently lost the opportunity to do that thing. That I believe is optional, and it also you only damage 1 location regardless of how many followers get through. It's 1 power per, but it's only 1 location period.
Got it.
A couple other things that I'm realizing I probably should have said about followers. They interplay ready. So unlike a lot of these games, they can attack the round that you play them. Mm-hmm. It would be a subsequent action, right? Because the turn will pass back.
Sure.
They also this is it's not printed here on our action reference card, but they can also have actions printed on them. Say action : do something, and that would be your action, and then pass the turn back to your opponent like you would expect. Mm-hmm. Any questions about any of that?
I don't think so.
Okay. Then after we've done 4 actions each, we get to the rally phase here, where we follow some pretty straightforward steps, 6 of them actually. First, we trigger any rally abilities, like the Blind Sculptor here says, rally, develop a location you control.
So if this was yours, you could pull this off and do that effect?
Yep, cool. Yep, seems pretty strong. Next, you ready all of your cards that are exhausted for any reason. Next, everyone gains 2 Mythium, which is great. So decent amount of free revenue in this game. Mm-hmm. Fourth, everyone draws 1 card. Mm-hmm. The one way that this is different from just the draw card action is that it is mandatory. If your deck is empty and you need to draw a card in the rally phase, your opponent gains a power instead.
Interesting. Okay,
yeah.
So you can deck someone. You can mill them.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then fifth and I guess nearly final, you check for victory. This is where you see whether anyone has 10 or more power, maybe end the game. And then assuming that doesn't end the game, then you flip player order by literally flipping this, which then has, you can see me going first, kind of. There's no other differences between the 2 sides of this other than the orientation of this zigzag of actions.
Got it.
Yeah, so we continue like that. I didn't dwell much on the Worldbreakers themselves, but they function much like a follower or something. They have an ability that you can activate either at the times that it's triggered or as an action. It varies from Worldbreaker to Worldbreaker, but they have some sort of ability that's just always in play.
Okay.
They can be exhausted if their ability calls for them to exhaust to do it, but they don't have health and power. They don't attack like a follower does. They're just sort of your it's like your identity in Netrunner, right? It's just a floating block of text that you can apply and that will probably shape your playstyle.
Right. Are there any really important keywords that we need to cover? Or
We talked about a couple of them. This game has a pretty good reference for them, so I don't necessarily think we need to.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I would just direct you to the reference card that came with your copy of Worldbreakers if you want to know any of the keywords.
Yeah.
I think the only other thing that I would touch on before we call this a video is this is a constructed deck game. You can build decks in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really straightforward. You can put anything in your deck. You choose a Worldbreaker. You can put, actually, they have 3 signature cards marked with stars in the corner that those don't have to go in. They may go in, but I recommend it. They're good.
And they can only go with that Worldbreaker.
They can only go with that Worldbreaker, right.
Okay.
And then finally, you put 27 other cards into your 30-card deck with no duplicates. It's always a singleton game, but you do not have to stay in the guild that your Worldbreaker belongs to. You can have all 4 guilds if you want, but they're going to then have different standing requirements, and you're going to have to spend actions gaining all that standing. So that's kind of the way the resource system works, is you can stretch outside of your guild for cool combos, but you're going to have to pay the consequences in managing your standing as you go.
All right, I'm excited to try it.
Cool, me too. So thanks for watching. We're going to, if you're watching this live stream, we're going to go straight into playing a game of Worldbreakers. Mm-hmm. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, thank you for watching, and check out our playthrough, which is probably getting posted a day or 2 after this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drop a comment. Tell us what is the worst name, Mythium or Unobtainium.
Oh, they're both pretty bad.
They're both pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can't defend either one. Let us know in the comments what the worst fictional element you're aware of is, and we'll compare. All right, see you for the playthrough.
Yeah.
See you then. Till then, be optimal.